It's time for our first keynote of the day by no other than Mr. Euan Davis, Head of Research at Cognizant Technology Solutions. Based on research and vision, Euan knows like no other what the future holds and how tech leaders should anticipate on it. Please put your hands together for Mr. Euan Davis.
Morgen. My apologies, I think I've murdered Dutch. But I did want to say good morning in your language and give you the courtesy of at least trying to give a little bit of a sense that I've localized my content for you. My name's Euan Davis. I work at Cognizant. Cognizant is a technology services company, consulting services company, business process services company, and we have a rather grand ambition, which is to engineer modern businesses to improve everyday lives. And what I want to do today is talk to you about some of the research we've just completed with a rather small company called The Economist. And when you work with a company like The Economist, in the UK anyway, you do pay an awful lot of money for the privilege. So I took their data and I did my own analysis of the data, and what I want to do is give you a sense of a story of what's really going on in the modern business landscape. Modern business, that for me is what's key. And if you are a modern business, then you are a resilient business. And I think you can agree the last couple of years have shown just how important it is to be resilient. I don't know what the situation here is in Holland, but I can tell you in the UK, it's pretty hairy what's going on. We have inflation at about 12%. I think it's even higher here in the Netherlands. About 14% was what I saw last month. We have Brexit to deal with. We have broken supply chains. Like you, we have a spike in energy, a huge spike in mortgage rates. It's getting really, really difficult to do business. So CIODAY has been around for 18 years. I think the next 2-3 years are going to be a real eye-opener. And it's therefore incumbent on us as leaders to think about how we can build modern businesses which are actually fit for the future and actually ready for anything. And you can see I've tried to translate my report there, Klaar voor alles. I'm sure I've murdered it again. But basically, my story is being ready for anything and how you actually think about building a modern business. And I did it with The Economist. And what we actually landed on was a really interesting set of ideas. Number one, there's an awful lot of muddle. I think you saw it on Mark's slides as well. There's a lack of clarity, really, on where to focus and what to do. And thankfully, my research pointed out the same problem. There's just so much to do, so much on the to-do list. So when you ask 2,000 executives in the Western world, what is your priority? What do you have to solve in the next year, in the next 2 years? And there isn't a clear answer. Everything is a priority. And when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority, and that's where it gets really problematic. So when I put this question down for The Economist to ask and to poll their survey, I at least expected one or two of them to really shine out. For me, data-driven operations, alignment, those are really, really key aspects of what this whole focus on being a modern business really is. But no, it's not. There's so many things to do. And the reason this is happening, I think anyway, is we've been doing this whole shift into digital for nearly 15 years. And as a result, there's so many problems beginning to emerge. Generational divides within the workforce. You've got issues on what to keep, what to retain, what to let go. This is what we're trying to solve. And this is why you have this shift, or this muddle really, on what really matters. So that's one thing. The next thing is the technologies, those foundations of our business, are really rising to a new level. And look at this slide. This is a shopping list. These are the tools, these are the technologies that executives say they're implementing or have implemented. It's going way beyond the usual suspects of cloud, IoT, big data. Those were the bread and butter, say 5 years ago. You're starting to see blockchain, augmented reality, even quantum. Do we really believe 58% of organizations are investigating quantum? I have to say, I pushed back on The Economist on that, but they wouldn't have it. They said, this is the data, you have to run with it. But what it tells me is this technology is just accelerating faster and faster. And it's moving beyond the usual suspects of those cloud, IoT, big data into new areas, new ways of running sophisticated business models, operating models, processes, new ways of driving intelligence into every stakeholder interaction, into every process point around the business. But there is an issue, and don't take too much of it, but when you ask a simple question, are these technologies providing real value? And you can see, no, they're not. There's still a perception issue at the top of the organization that value still lags from these technologies, these deployments. And I think the discussion before signposted what some of those issues actually are. These technologies are like tools. They're complex tools. And complex tools need practice. They need best practices. They need establishing. They need to get the organization on one page. I think I've got a reason why. Because when we ask the question, well, let's look at your workforce. Let's think about what's going on where you, in your organization. So we asked a very simple question, what's stopping you from achieving your goals when you think about new services and new processes? And by far, the largest issue was one of talent. They couldn't get the right talent. They didn't have the right skills. The talent pool is shrinking. It's really, really difficult to find the right people to do what we need to do. However, when you ask which talent management practices have you implemented in your organization, and these, according to The Economist, are the 10 best practice talent management strategies you can do, guess how many had been implemented in 2,000 global companies? 4 out of 10 of this list was the most that had been implemented. Tracking employee skills, integrating training into workflow, ensuring that top talent knows which way the opportunities are flowing around their organization. This, to me, is a real issue, and I would argue that's where the value gap pivots around. It's actually thinking about the people and technology and how you bring these pieces together in order to drive change in the organization. And if you think about the fact that you have this technology foundation building and you're moving beyond the traditional technologies into frontier technologies, then this becomes even more critical to solve for the business. So those workforce strategies, that for me is where the real rubber hits the road when we're looking at the next 2 to 3 years in order to build an organization that's really fit for purpose and fit for the future. So, the final piece, and I think you're going to hear about this after me from Stephanie, is around ESG. 9 out of 10 decision makers that we surveyed said ESG was critically important to them. How many had a chief sustainability officer? 3 out of 10. How many actually tracked carbon through their supply chain? Hardly any. How many of them were actually using data to understand what their carbon footprint was through all their digital assets, through all their physical assets? Hardly anyone. But the fact is, it's incredibly important, and it's going to be even more important as we go forward. You just have to look at the legislation that's starting to build in Europe and globally, actually, around ESG. That for me is the story when you think about this. You think about the problems we have figuring out where to focus. We've got this insatiable desire for technology. We're not doing enough to bring our people alongside. And we've got this sword of Damocles, which is climate change and sustainability and carbon tracking, that really demands an answer and demands a response. So what can you do? Well, I've got 1 minute to solve the world, but I'll do my best just to give you a sense of what you can do. Did I mention that we worked with The Economist? Well, there's actually a benchmark that you can do. It's on The Economist side. It's got our brand all over it. But the beauty of it is it's The Economist that's put it together. And we worked with them to figure out what really matters for an organization to be future ready. So if you're in Holland, if you're in Belgium, if you're in America, if you're in Britain, you can put your organization in there, put your industry in there, and it'll tell you exactly where you are on this future-ready business benchmark. So you can understand exactly where you can get clarity in your strategy. You can understand exactly how your technology rollout compares vis-a-vis your peers. You can benchmark your workforce strategies. You can see how your vision performs. So with that, I'll close, and I'd like to say dankjewel, and I look forward to seeing you through the rest of the day. Thank you very much.